Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime.
You know, I don't know. I'm trying to rack my brain, but I don't think that I've talked to very many people who have done more things in more places, in more styles than our guest today. And he's an author, and he's a coach, and he's an all-around artist, which means that you tell him something and he can create the art around it. His name is Dave Letterfly, and he's in his mobile home sitting behind a Harley Davidson shop. And somebody may come knocking on the door because they want him to paint their Harley here in a minute. But hopefully we'll have him for the entire hour. Dave, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing just a little better than excellent, Kevin. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're so welcome. And, you know, you grew up in the circus, and you painted. You learned to paint murals and different things in the circus. You trained horses. You travel the country now, and you do. Did you think when you were young that sitting here today that your life was going to be as much fun as it is now?
I had no idea what was waiting for me as I stepped fearlessly forward. I followed a hunch, and there I ended up landing in an interesting life.
Well, I think you planned it. Oh. And by the way, Geneva... Jen is she's saying good afternoon, brother. Is that to you?
I guess. Good afternoon. Awesome sauce. Rock on, brother. That's got to be for you because nobody ever accuses me of rocking on it. But it's great to have you here. Tell us about, because I think it's really interesting. Training horses to do what they did in the circus. I think that is just amazing to me. How did you train them? I actually had to learn how to train them. I had no idea. I was a city boy. I had no idea. But what ended up happening while I was on my first circus and I was playing the drums in the show band, accenting the efforts of all the performers and making the show more entertaining, I became fascinated with what the animal trainers were doing. They were asking their animals to do all these wonderful things, and it just became a source of fascination. I'd go hang around them and talk to them, and they noticed I was curious about it, and the next thing you know, I was being guided and coached and taught how we go about doing the training using kindness, and it's actually a form of psychology, I guess you'd say, and it requires a simple honesty that doesn't typically exist in human relationships. There's something that horses just plain don't understand, an attempt at manipulation or a barrage of blame or shaming and things like that. There's a necessary functionality that has to take place in order for the horse to understand that. And so not only were horses a godsend in regards to my becoming socially functional, but it was also an arena, I guess you'd say, for me to learn loving kindness and appropriate behavior. in relationship with another living being.
Now, how old were you when you were in the circus and you started training horses?
I started playing the drums when I was 16, and by the time I was 18, I was understudying a man in Oklahoma who was training my first batch of ponies to perform. So yeah, I was still a teenager.
You got the education of a lifetime just by doing.
It was sort of I give serendipity an awful lot of the credit for the way that my career revealed itself, because even if I go before the circus, see, my family, I had an older brother who produced bizarre behavior. They didn't have a name for it, but they call it neurodivergence. And anyway, it created a frustrating situation. And that's exactly what not only made me reclusive socially, but it made me more inclined to immerse myself in creativity, the things I could do solo. And then by the time I was a teenager, those are frustrating years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I figured out that my family was the problem and the circus was the answer.
And I can only imagine you were a teenager and you were being taken underneath the wing of these guys that knew that you had potential and were going to help you to learn about all the things that you needed to learn to work with the horses. And then you performed with the horses at one point too, didn't you?
Of course, yeah. For several years, I had my 6-pony Liberty act on the road for about 8 years, and then I sold that act to a circus man up in Canada. And then my first horse, I performed on and off with him for a bunch of years. And then my second horse, I acquired her in the middle 80s, and then my third horse was with me all the way up until the very last summer I performed, which was 1996. So I would say that's pretty close to a 25-year career of performing, even though I was never, it wasn't, each year was never performing solid. I had, either a season or a partial season that was augmented by my career as a sign painter, and then later on as a mural artist, and then like today as a pinstriping guy for motorcycle dealerships.
And just so everybody knows, what you do now is you have your RV and you go travel around the country and you park behind a Harley Davidson dealer and they know you're coming, and then they book people that they want you to pinstripe their motorcycles and stuff. That's quite an interesting gig. But before we go there and then talk about you as an author, I've got to ask you about the mind of horses, because you, in order to train them the way you did, you had to understand a lot more about how they thought and what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And there's some people that say, oh, a horse is just a dumb animal. I'm willing to bet that you're going to disagree with that.
And it's really interesting what you learn as a horse trainer, because there are, especially when you're attempting to get a horse to perform in front of a crowd, that's like taking an animal that's inclined to want to be scared in the first place and throwing him right into some chaos. With the band playing and the crowd roaring and all of the distractions going on, the horses need somebody that's calm and consistent and is a friend and that they can rely on. And the other thing that's interesting is that the horse trainer actually wants the horse to make every conceivable mistake they can possibly make, so that he can guide them during the mistake making process. And once I learned that, it just completely changed my paradigm, my relationship with mistakes as they occur, because it's part of the learning process. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. And that's, as soon as we know that, our relationship with horses becomes functional. And the same thing with our relationship with the things, our own endeavors.
Now, your relationship with the horses, it seems to me that it's not simplistic, but they're very straightforward, and they don't understand human differences with how we react or respond to things and stuff like that. Is that kind of they need somebody that's calm and very straightforward, and they can count on you're going to do the same things each time?
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, is how they learn. Is when we become consistent, our behavior, our demeanor, our emotional condition remains consistent. Then the horse has the ability to find safety and connection and union with the trainer. So that's quite a discipline, becoming able to remain consistent no matter what, because as human beings, we go through all these moods and all this stuff all the time. And if you're going to work with a horse on a regular basis, you need to get a handle on that kind of stuff.
Oh, exactly. And that is so important. And didn't you at one point have like 6 horses in the ring at the same time?
That's correct. Yeah, that's what you call a liberty act. They're all in the ring and they're all loose. That means I didn't have any tether, no leash, no lead line. I had nothing that was attached to any of the horses. They were all completely loose in the ring. And that requires trust and consistency in order to develop a precision routine.
And so I imagine that you never ever used a whip on the horses or any of that, unless it was as a activation technique or something like that. Would that be true?
Well, it's actually very true. There's no real point in using the whip as like a weapon or something. The whip or the crop is actually simply an extension of your arm. It's just so that you can, because the relationship that you have with an animal that is loose is gestural, because there's no contact. So it's the different gestures that we make is how the horse learns what it is that we want them to, we want them to respond. An example of that would be when I'm moving in toward the hind end of the horse. That's a gesture that they understand that we want them to move forward. And then whenever I make my gesture sort of come in front of the horse, that means that simply means that we want them to slow down. And then there's an invitation. We step back, and that's an invitation for them to turn toward us. And then by using all of these gestures, we get all of the different responses that the people are amazed with. The horse is reversing direction or doing a 360-degree spin right in place. And, all of the other things that you see in a liberty act.
Now, are
gestural. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm getting the impression here that the horses loved you and wanted to please you, and so to do what you were asking them to do. Is that fair?
That's very, very fair. And the way that we accomplish that is when during the training, as soon as we get the correct response, we typically end the training. So the horse learns, wow, the quicker I do it right, the quicker the session is over with. So there's kind of a reward that's built into, and that's the kind of functional relationship that it takes to train a horse. Those kinds of things.
I remember when I was a kid and was doing the horseman merit badge in Boy Scouts, and we were riding a horse, or I was riding the horse, and as we were going farther away from the barn, the slower the horse wanted to go. But when we turned around to go back to the barn, they got the idea, oh boy, we're almost done with this and I'm going home now. And so the pace picked up. Is that right?
Yeah, and a horse trainer that knows that the horse is inclined to want to do that will use that to his advantage. He'll do the train. He'll do certain aspects of the training when he's going away from the barn, and then do other aspects of the training when he's going back toward the barn, because there's more impulsion. Now, the other interesting thing that happens with a horse on the circus is you take them away from the barn, you load them in the horse truck, and you take them to a place they've never been before, and you take them into a giant venue, a big cavernous building that's got all this stuff going on in it, and there's nothing familiar in his life. So guess what happens? There's a bonding that occurs. That's that same bonding that horse that you rode had with the barn is not possible because you took him away from the barn. But the bonding that occurs with the horseman, and the horse and the horseman become connected when they're out there on the road, going in and out of these venues, performing together on a daily basis. There's nothing that's more magical than that kind of a connection with an animal.
That's just amazing to me. By the way, we're talking with Dave Letterfly, and we've got much more to discuss, including his books and his art. And I'm not sure that you mentioned that you were a drummer when you were 16, too.
Yeah, I still got my kit. It's an old Gretsch drum kit from the 60s. I still got them. Haven't played them in probably 30 years.
Oh, well, it's good to have. Good to have. So we'll be right back with more with Dave right after this message.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back, everybody, with Dave Letterfly. He's quite a remarkable man. He is traveling around the country now, and he's doing some really cool stuff with motorcycles. And but one of the things that you said is joining the circus was the smartest thing you ever did. Why was that?
It really was. It was an answer that I had no idea how it would end up unraveling, but I learned things that later on in my career I had a handle on, and I found a market. And an example was I was a sign painter in Jackson, Michigan in the 70s and 80s, and the computer was taking away the sign business because the computer had started cutting out vinyl letters for the people to make their own signs. And so I needed another gig, and I ended up accidentally discovering a huge market with the motorhome people. The motorhomes had evolved into the big 40-foot pushers. Money was available, and people were retiring and moving into these luxury motorhomes that were plain vanilla on the outside. And they all wanted a beautiful mural painted on the back. And I had the experience already with, as an artist, creating all this kind of fantastic stuff. Plus, because of my background with the circus, I knew how to travel. And this demographic was a traveling demographic. They would clump up somewhere different every week. And because I knew how to travel, I knew how to chase the work. And I became the most prolific airbrush mural artist, putting artwork on motorhomes that there was during the period of the middle 80s all the way up until the beginning of the new millennia.
You know, it's interesting because, and I don't know, I'm sure you know this because you're out there every day, but living in a travel trailer or living in a RV, that's becoming a thing again. And kids are even doing it in vans.
Definitely. Yeah. There's a lot to say about the I guess you'd call it a minimalized mindset in regards to living your life. Yeah, we have to make choices. When I lived in the front of the living quarters in my horse trailer, that living quarters was even more compact than a little, 22-foot sailboat living quarters. And so you had to make decisions in regards to when you wanted to acquire something, because something had to go if you wanted something new because of that. And so that's another, probably a healthy mindset to have.
Well, do you know who George? Well, you'll know who George Carlin is. Oh, yeah. Was, and he had a skit he used to do about stuff.
Yeah, stuff.
We get stuff, and then we have to get more stuff, and then we have to get a bigger house to put our stuff in, and then we have to get a shed to put our stuff in because we've got too much stuff that was in the house. I mean, it was funnier than hell, but it was so true.
Oh, yeah.
Because minimalist lifestyles are becoming much more popular nowadays because who needs all that stuff?
That's right. Hey, you need some stuff? I got some stuff. I'll bring you a whole load of stuff.
and a lot of people are trying to calm down and minimalize their life because it's a lot less expensive and it's just a lot easier, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. Yeah.
And go ahead.
I actually love this life out here on the road. I'm on the road 7 months, a different Harley store every week, and I just love it.
Well, you get to meet, I'm willing to bet you get to meet some of the most interesting people out there because guys that have Harleys, they're a rare breed. They won't ride anything else but a Harley.
Yeah, and it's an interesting cross section of the population too. It isn't just the stereotypical rough and tough, grizzled biker anymore. It's police officers and lawyers and surgeons and everybody else you can think of who like to dress up and look tough and go out there and make some noise.
That's right. What is the place in Montana that everybody goes to? And have you been there?
Yeah, they're there right now. It's called Circus.
Yes.
And it's like a pilgrimage. They all go out there for the first part of August every year.
I knew a band that went there on a regular basis, and they were a really good rock band, and they went every year, and they were really well received because it is a lot of fun for everybody to get together. And even in COVID, they did it during COVID too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, a few people got sick, but what do you do? And and by the way, we're talking with Dave Letterfly, and by the way, you've written 3 books, and let's talk about that. What made you decide to write books rather than paint stuff?
Well, I still paint stuff. But my writing actually started as the process of recovery from alcoholism. One of the steps in the 12 steps of recovery requires doing a written inventory. And I guess because I'm obsessive and I overdo everything that I seem to do, once I started writing, I never stopped. I did the writing for the sake of the moral inventory, and then I started writing marketing material. Then I started writing little essays, and then I tried writing little inspirational pieces, so I could share a good message with the reader. And the next thing you know, I had enough stuff for a book, and then I had enough stuff for 2 books, and then I met a professor at SEU in Florida who said, "Hey, let me look at what you got there." And then he went through it and said, "Hey, you got here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a book together. I'm going to just select the things that go together that follow a theme, and I'm going to give you assignments. You'll have to do things, and we're going to have to fill in the gaps, and we're going to put together a themed book." And so that's how the first book began. And my first book was kind of a way to honor my dad and explain where my passion for the circus came from. And that would include a boy to man type story that started with the frustrated teenager and then matured into my dad and I becoming the best of friends, later in life. And then it just kept on going from there.
Well, and you told me a story before we started recording, and it was that you didn't know that you could write and stuff, but somebody told you, well, it's like painting a picture only with words. Is that kind of what they said?
That's exactly what started it all off. Yeah, I took a creative writing course at FSU, and that's the way the teacher started off the workshop. She said, all you got to do is paint a picture. And I went, wow, I could do that.
And it ended up that you've got 3 books and what's the latest book that you have out now?
The latest one is called Kinker, Circusing the 70s, and it's available on Amazon. And it takes the reader through when I was a teenager all the way up through about 10 years of my life while I was a circus man, performing with the circus. And it's got a built-in inspirational message also. It's part of the theme of the book. But yeah, it takes you right into the rugged world of the traveling outdoor circus. And that really doesn't exist anymore. The
No.
Circus in the 70s was under canvas. There are no canvas tents anymore now that vinyl has been invented. And back in those days, they used the animals we used the elephants to put the tents up, and we made 1-day stands, and it was quite a rugged lifestyle. So for the reader who wants to be immersed in an aspect of life that doesn't exist anymore, it's a kind of a wonderful way to go on an adventure right there in your own living room, and you won't get mud on your feet
or any other substances that are around elephants.
Exactly.
So in those days, you'd travel in a semi, and you get to the place where you were going to set up, and then they would set everything up, then you would perform, then you would break everything down, get in the semi, and go to the next town. Is that how it worked?
It was a daily rhythm. It was a rhythm that once your season started, you did not have to have a wristwatch. You knew what time it was by what you were doing. It was
wow.
It was kind of it was among my favorite experiences in my life. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine that it's freedom, but it's also a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency and doing the same things at the same time. And I imagine that's even like you guys ate at the same times and probably knew what to eat and because you had cooks along, didn't you too?
Yeah, we always had a cookhouse because nobody had time to cook for themselves. There was always a cookhouse. Everybody ate together in the cookhouse tent. 3 meals a day. And typically you woke up in the morning to the big machine that was pounding the stakes into the ground. It was going boom, 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 boom. So that was your alarm clock. And you'd get up and then you'd wander over to the cookhouse and get yourself some breakfast. And by the time breakfast was over, the tent was in the air and you could go in and start setting your props and get ready for the show. Everything was set up by 10:30. Then you could take a break until the matinee at 2:00. And then as soon as the matinee performance, as soon as that you started rolling, that you did the matinee show, the come in, the matinee show, the after show, and then there was a meal between shows, and then you got ready and do the second show and take it all down. It only took 45 minutes to take from the end of the show till when the last item was loaded on a truck.
It's like military precision, isn't it?
Definitely. As soon as everybody fell into that routine, it was just plain magical. It was something that people were amazed. They'd get up in the morning and come watch the circus go up.
And I'm willing to bet that the camaraderie between the performers and everybody in the troupe was amazing, because you really depended upon each other for taking care of things and to make sure that everybody was safe and stuff. When we come back, I want to ask you, who took care of the horses? Was that you, and were they all on a horse truck and then they got unloaded? We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio on the Brushwood Media Network, and we're talking to Dave Letterfly. And if you go to his website, which is letterfly.com, you can find out all about him, and you can buy the books and everything about him. So we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back, Dave. Stay right where you are, and I hope nobody knocks on your door to do a Harley in between, because that's probably more important, and you'll make some money doing that. So we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. We've got a really entertaining episode going for you today. Dave Letterfly is here, and he is he's a drummer. He is a circus performer. He works with horses. He traveled. You know, a lot of kids would say, I want to run away and join the circus. Well, you know what? Dave did run away and join the circus. And then he morphed that into a painting career. He's an artist of all kinds. He did all kinds of different art, including the back of a motorhome. I'll bet you that there are still motorhomes with your artwork on the back of them that is a prized possession by the people that you did those for. Would that be true?
I would say, yeah, that's very true. Every once in a while, I'll get a call from somebody that saw one of my murals going down the highway,
and they want it too.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, tell me about the book Hit the Road and Thrive.
I wrote that book as the result of one of my customers making a comment. He said, Dave, you are living the dream, doing what you love, making people happy with what you love to do. You should write a book on how to do that. So I did. I wrote the book Hit the Road and Thrive, and it's for people who maybe perhaps don't know what to do first, to get up off their couch and take that step right into the unknown and start living a life of adventure. And I made that book available for people for free on another website. They can get a free download and read it for free. Hit the Road and Thrive is available on the website daveletterfly.com.
Great. So you can either go to, well, actually, you need to go to both. Go to letterfly.com and find out more about him, and then go to daveletterfly.com, and you can download the book for free, and you can read it. Although, I think you should buy the book, and so that Dave can make some money, and that would be good. And how long have you been doing Harley work and striping for Harleys?
Oh, the Harley Davidson gig started at the in the new millennia, when all of the Harley Davidson stores were building fancy retail units, and one of my motorhome customers had me put a mural on their motorhome, and then they invited me up to their Harley Davidson store in Iowa to paint murals inside their store. And that's where I was introduced to the motorcycle clientele, because I would be painting away on the inside of the store, and the bikers would come in and they would say, hey, would you come out to the parking lot and look at my bike? I'm thinking about a cool design that I'd like to see on my bike. And so that's where it all started.
Well, and I will tell you, my son has a Harley. He's wanted a Harley for his entire life, and he finally was able to secure one. It is the most, other than, his wife and kids, maybe not. I don't, that is his most prized possession in the world. And when you take a Harley and you personalize it like that, it's not a bike anymore. It is a prized possession, and it's a part of you. Isn't that so?
Definitely. And it is just an absolute privilege to watch my customers whenever I accomplish one of their personal desires on their bike, because they all want to make it so it's theirs. It's got some aspect of their personality on the bike that distinguishes it from all the rest. And when they see their bike for the first time after I've got their artwork complete, it's just amazing getting to see them glow with a new pride that they already are proud of their motorcycle, but they get that new pride when they see that their personal personality is now conveyed in paint on the fenders and the tanks.
That's a big deal, because everybody wants, especially when you are so proud of the bike that you have, that it be decorated in a way that is really personalized for you.
Yeah, definitely. You can get chrome accessories, you can get a new leather seat, you can get all these different doodads and bells and whistles on your motorcycle. But when you get one of a kind, hand painted pinstripe designs with some aspect of your personality included in the design, that's the one-up offering that you cannot get anywhere else except from an artist.
So I'm willing to bet then. Now, do you have a circuit that you go on and a bunch of stores, or are stores always looking for you and to come to their town?
I have pretty much a route that takes me from my home in Florida, and I zigzag my way up to the north for the summer. I spend the summer between Philadelphia and Chicago, and I pretty much go to the same stores every year, which works really well because the customers that I've been painting for years and years and years often trade their bikes in on the newest one, and as soon as I get back to the Harley store, they know they can get me to dude up the new one.
That's really cool. And I give us, by the way, in the book that you wrote about traveling, and you've got a bunch of tips there. Give us some really basic tips on if you want to hit the road on an RV or a van or something. What are some of the things people need to know?
One of the things that you need to know, typically what we do when we're living in a town and we're living a life of routine, is we're going through what I call a robotic life. We wake up at the same time. We automatically grab the toothbrush. Then we put on our clothes and have our breakfast and get in the car and drive the same route in order to go to our job. And when you hit the road, you cannot do it that way because it's different every day. There's the first thing that you notice is that the robotic thing doesn't work anymore. We don't have, there's a certain security with being in your hometown that is not available when you are exploring new territory. So there's a different kind of mindset that's required for an explorer, and that is to constantly be on the certainly on the alert, but also to have a proactive, positive mindset so that you can maximize on whatever experiences occur. And interestingly, because of that background I have with horses and what I learned about the horse trainer actually wanting the horse to make all the conceivable mistakes that they could possibly make so that I could have the opportunity to guide them toward the behavior that's desirable, that's also a valuable part of the mindset that the adventurer needs to have. And I cover this stuff in kind of a way for people who are not necessarily horse trainers to become able to adopt into their attempt at stepping into the unknown and living a life of adventure when they follow that hunch and strike out on their own. And it's all covered in the book, Hit the Road and Thrive. Yeah. And
I got to ask you, is it one of the concerns I have? I'm not as young as I used to be, nor as spry as I used to be. Is it safe? Do you need to find places that are safe, like ROA camps and that kind of stuff? And do you need to be careful when you're on the road?
I'm certain, it's always appropriate to be certainly prudent. There are, areas of certain towns that you don't want to go into, and it's pretty easy to remain alert and appropriate, whenever you discover a questionable situation. And that's the beauty of being able to travel, is it's easy enough to just, get up and get out of there. But because I've found a home on the road due to my 50-plus year career traveling and being in the service industry, I guess you'd say, I'm very comfortable pretty much wherever I go. Wherever I land, I end up being right at home.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is because the first time that I talked to you, you were behind the local Harley store, and you stopped to chat with me for a minute, and then you had customers that were lined up ready for you to work with them. And so I imagine that your RV in the back of a Harley store is very safe, because they look out after you, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And typically they're in, I guess you'd call high profile retail areas.
Right.
Instead of, the rugged parts of town. They're in the pretty part, where all of the brand new franchise stores are.
Yeah, so it's not like you are having to spend the night and park at like a Walmart or something like that.
Uh-huh. Even though Walmart's, I tell the joke that RVing is a great way to go from Walmart to Walmart.
Really? So well, I suppose that their parking lots are well lit, and they've got cameras everywhere and all of that. So that would be. Do they allow you to do that?
Of course, yeah. There's lots and lots of Walmarts that have RVs that park in their parking lot overnight when they're
interesting
across the country. It's kind of an unwritten, whatever you call it. Yeah, it's kind of an understood part of the culture. Yeah, we'll go to Walmart.
Well, at least you can get your groceries there at the same time.
Definitely, yeah.
So, by the way, we're talking with Dave Letterfly, and his last name is
Knoderer.
Knoderer. But you can go by Dave Letterfly, and you can find out everything you need to know. He's an author. He's a musician. He's a horse trainer. He's a horse. He does. And he ran away from home and joined the circus, and he's never looked back in all of his the rest of his 25 years after that, because he's still a young man. By the way, I got to ask you, and I need to take a break, but I have a mustache. How long have you been cultivating your mustache?
I started my mustache, I think, when I was in my 20s, middle 20s.
I had somebody tell me, you have a nice mustache, and I said, my mustache is older than you are. So he thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, we need to take a break, and we'll be right back. Please listen to this. It's important.
The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.
And Dave Letterfly is with us. What do you think of that, sir?
I think it's a good time to be kind to everybody.
Yeah, I think it is, and especially when you're traveling around the country, you get to meet so many interesting people. Do you have any favorite stories of somebody that you met while you're on the road that really made your day?
Definitely. There's lots of stories like that. I met the lady who wrote the program for the space shuttle to turn over on its back during liftoff. I striped a motorcycle for the manager of Godolphin Farms, and he asked me if I wanted to see, if I wanted a tour of the farm. Now, Godolphin Farms are the farms where they have the race horses around Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
The Kentucky Derby winners and stuff. Well, he gave me a tour of the place. I met 3 Kentucky Derby winners, and there was like 9 stallions in the stallion barn. And the series of farms, he has like 5 farms there. And those farms are more elegant than Disney World.
Oh, I'll bet. Well, there's a lot of money in horse racing.
Yeah, definitely. And then there are other people, from all walks of life that I've decorated for, including Ma and Pa USA and surgeons and police officers. There was one guy who was a retired police officer, and he did some bodyguard work on the side in Chicago. And it ended up there was a sheik from Arabia who needed some kind of medical procedure, and the best place to get it was in Chicago. And so this guy came over with his entourage and 200 pieces of luggage, and they rented the whole top floor of a big hotel and hired him to be the bodyguard. And he said he had some elaborate tales to tell in regards to his opportunity to observe this big family and their culture while they were visiting Chicago. So yeah, that's one of the things I enjoy about this lifestyle. Not only the service that I provide people, but especially the access that I have to interesting personalities and interesting stories and all of the things that add spice to life.
Now, you've got a home in Florida. Do you think you're ever going to quit doing this and just sit on your front porch in your rocker? I don't see you as that kind of a guy.
No, if I stop doing the RV adventure type lifestyle, I think that I'm just going to evolve into the next adventure and maybe set my sights on having a flat or an apartment in Portugal so I can hang around interesting horses. That's where a lot of interesting horses are. And there are lots of, from what I understand, the circus culture is completely different in Europe. And I might just want to become the resident artist at one of those circuses and put little pinstripe designs and elaborate decorations on their stuff. There's always something else to do. So I'm probably just going to evolve into the next adventure. As I look back over my career, it's been a series of having to evolve. So yeah, definitely. I'm just going to stay open.
Well, I'm willing to bet, Dave, that of all the people that I've met, you are one of the most unique individual with such a remarkable story over time of all the things that you've done, and from the circus to the RV stuff. And it's just, do you ever stop and pinch yourself and go, man, have I had a good life?
It's really interesting that as I remember when I was first noticing the sign business going away, I was just an ambitious guy, just trying to make the money I needed to stay in the horse business. And I was concerned because the computer was encroaching upon my territory. And I had the thought, oh man, now what am I going to do? And the next thing happened, serendipity. I mentioned earlier on, I have to credit serendipity or divine intervention an awful lot in regards to how my career is unfolded. And the next right thing was presented to me that was even better than the sign business could have ever been. And it just kept, and then that went away. That was good for 20 years. Then that went away and I had to evolve again. So there are times when I guess my human selfish nature becomes concerned about things changing, but then the higher self, the one in perfect alignment with assuming my spiritual responsibility, it learns to reside in faith and then become proactive about finding the next right thing. And as I continue to mature, I end up finding out that service to others is like the ultimate way to not only live your life but transform whatever it is that could possibly interfere with living an incredible life. I got to just set all that other stuff aside and find a way to be a blessing to another person. And as I learn to keep that foremost in my awareness, it's just amazing how my day unfolds.
And that is in my belief structure, that is the highest form of honoring your creator, is service to other people.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so many people don't get that, and they're like, I can't do that, or I'm not going to do that, or I've got to do this, and I've got to make this much money, and I'm not going to give anything away for free, even if I can afford it, because they may need it, but I might need it, and I don't want to give it to them because they're, you know what I mean? And we need to be open and honest with people and helping wherever we can, if we can, financially, or with helping them move, or helping them find something. You know what it's just being kind and helpful to other people is big.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yep.
And I'm so glad that I have met you, young man. You are a remarkable human being.
Yep. That's really what fuels me as I write. I'm an early riser, and I get up early every morning, and I write typically for 2 hours. Today, I got lost in my writing. I was writing for 2.5 hours. And that's what I strive to do, is tell these colorful stories and then give the reader the payoff, the theme, the gem, the thing that they can use to transform the experience they have and help them get the upgrade.
That is just awesome. So you're saying you're writing 2 hours every day. Do you have another book coming?
I've actually got a manuscript complete, waiting for my editor to grab it and polish it up. She's available Labor Day week to begin. And I'm actually working on another book. And
good for you.
This is it's a book about growing up. It's a book about my experience growing up with a neurodivergent older brother. And it's designed to possibly help people who may very well be in frustrating situations and don't know there's hope. And it takes the reader through the experience that I had that transformed me from a little kid who hated his brother into a man who has empathy for a condition in which he is unable to relate to other human beings because of his neurodivergence. So hopefully it'll be an answer for some aspect of the population.
And it is so needed. It is so needed. By the way, we've been talking with Dave Letterfly. Go to his website. He's got 2 of them. So letterfly.com. And if you remember his first name, which is Dave, letterfly.com, and you can find out all about him. This has been a marvelous discussion. I want to thank you so much for being here. Got about 30 seconds. Anything you'd like to add, sir?
Of course. Yeah, I would like to remind everybody to look up and appreciate everything that we have all around us, this wonderful world. And as we get better at radiating this appreciation, we become an example for others. And that is the kind of example that will help to improve all of the conditions that we get to enjoy here on this planet. Thanks for having me on the show, Kevin.
Oh, you are so welcome. I've had a great time, and you are a wonderful man, and I really appreciate your story. And boy, you're going to have to write the autobiography at one point. That's just because you've got so many stories and so many things.
Yeah.
Dave Letterfly, go to his website, daveletterfly.com and letterfly.com. And thank you, young man, for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at KM